My friends, hello. I saw a really neat video earlier today about a teacher who was sharing his different practices working with challenging students. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting is he highlighted how he doesn't call adults parents, he calls them grown-ups. And the whole purpose behind that is he knows that some of his students don't have parents. They live with their grandparents or some other guardian figure. So by calling them grown-ups, it's an inclusive way of making all the students feel included and involved rather than, like I don't have parents, mine, something happened to them. So I thought that was really interesting, and it made me think about some of the inclusive language that I really strive to use and how it could be helpful for you. I used to work with this person who would always say, when you're talking to your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, well, that just takes so long to say that. And what if it's just a casual relationship and not any of those things, right? And so I started to try to figure out, what can I say instead of rambling on, adding a whole sentence just to add a descriptor. And I started saying, just your partner, but your partner isn't necessarily always accurate either. And there tends to be a connotation that's used more with the LGBTQ community. So some people don't feel as comfortable with that. So what I started to use instead, when I'm talking about another person's loved one in their intimate relationships, I just use the term significant other. Catches everybody, whether you're in a long-term committed married relationship or a non-married relationship or a dating relationship, your significant other covers it. Another thing that's really fun and easy to do, and this is something that a lot of us do as managers and leaders, is we'll sometimes say, I want you to da 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 da. I just watched a video or a seminar of a gentleman who was coaching a group of people, and he kept saying, I want you to this, I want you to that, I want you to this, I want you to that. And I was just like ready to pull my hair out because I'm like, no one cares what you want. No one cares. No one cares what you want either. They don't care what I want. Nobody cares what we want. They care what they want. So what we instead, when we're trying to give somebody a direction, and that's really what that is, when you say, I want you to da da da, you're giving them a direction. What we can say instead is, let's da 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 da. What that does is it creates an inclusionary variable. So it implies that you're going to do it together, which is how a leader behaves. But it also still signals, I'm asking you to do something, and maybe I'm not even asking you, I'm kind of telling you because I'm saying, let's do this. So that's something you can switch. You can switch easily from saying, I want you to do something to let's do something. Another one that's easy, and we're seeing more and more in Merriam-Webster's dictionary, their word of the year, I believe it was in 2019, their word of the year was they. So when we're talking about individuals, we can say, instead of he or she, we can say they, particularly if we don't know how they identify themselves with their sexual orientation or their gender identity. So we can use the term they. This was an experience that I had that enlightened me to this. This was something that I wasn't very familiar with, and I still make mistakes on sometimes. I was working with a group of high school students a couple years ago, and there was a young person who preferred to go by they, and this individual looked very female, so I made mistakes with some frequency, but I really strove to say they. And what was interesting was this young person said at the end of the program that it was the first time they felt respected and heard, because most of their teachers throughout their life had refused to do that. They just said, this is how you were born, this is what I'm going to call you, and that wasn't really respecting what this individual needed and wanted. And by using a simple change of term, it helped this person to feel as though they were being respected. And what was interesting was that person then chose to participate more actively because they felt respected. The respect was first given, and therefore it was given back. So when we're working with people and we don't know, what their story and what their experiences are, there's another thing we can do to make it feel inclusive so that we don't accidentally alienate people. Here's the thing. Some people may think, oh, this is very progressive, or this is like a hyper liberal agenda or whatever. Like, you're welcome to think whatever you'd like. My whole point with this is that we have an opportunity to choose the words that we use. We can choose words that will sometimes accidentally and sometimes intentionally exclude people. Or we can work a little bit harder as leaders and try to use words that make everyone feel included as much as possible. When we do this, what's going to happen is everyone's going to feel like they're a part of the party, and we're going to have more engagement from people, and we're going to have more love and fun and just greater relationships because everyone feels included and respected.